Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gives in the Bank recruiting podcast brought to you by BuckeyeScoop.com. I'm Marc Givler, joined by Bill Greene once again. A lot to talk about today. We have a camp report to give. We were at the Elite 11 this weekend. Saw some prime Ohio State targets across a few different classes. So we'll kind of recap some of that. We got some other recruiting news we want to talk about. Quarterback recruiting is kind of a hot topic right now. We'll dive into some of that. Obviously, a commitment upcoming tomorrow from four-star running back Marc Fletcher, and we'll kind of preview that for a minute and also discuss some of his South Florida Express teammates and kind of where things are going with that. Bill had a great update on BuckeyeScoop.com. Here in the last 24 hours, just kind of recapping where he thinks things stand. So we're not going to give all that away. If you want the whole thing, you're going to have to go to BuckeyeScoop.com and go to the Ask the Insiders board and read Bill's report. But we'll talk a little bit about that. But first, Elite 11, Bill, Dante Moore. We'll start with 2023. I mean, the top there, highly regarded kid out of Detroit. One of Ohio State's top targets in 2023 as they try and figure out their quarterback recruiting situation. What did you see out of Dante, Bill, and just your thoughts on his performance, I guess, first of all, on Saturday at Massillon?
Yeah, I couldn't have been more impressed with Dante Moore. Saw him last year, and he was raw. His delivery looked a little flawed last year, like it needed some work. And what I saw Saturday is he put in the work. I mean, the ball is coming out so clean right now and so quick. And he made every throw the other day. And had we seen him in this setting a year ago or 9 months ago, I don't think he would have done as well. He's definitely gotten better to the point where, I mean, what I saw out of him Saturday is if he would have walked over to Ryan Day and committed, I think Ryan Day would have said, "Thank you very much. I'm so thrilled to have you. We're done with 2023. He was that good. Dare I say, to me, he reminded me of CJ Stroud when CJ was a high school senior. Never saw CJ in person, but saw film of CJ and clips from when he was at Elite 11. And I think the comparison is really good there. So Dante Moore stock way up, in my opinion, from what I saw Saturday. And, with Ryan Day being there to see his son, RJ, he spent time watching Dante Moore, and he too had to have been really impressed by what he saw out of Moore.
Maybe would be the best guy there. I didn't think he would be, as near perfect as he was. There were very few things to not like about his performance on Saturday. But that kind of leads us into the next thing. Can Ohio State get this kid? I mean, he's from Cleveland. He did grow up an Ohio State fan. I haven't really seen a lot of evidence of that the last year or two that would signal to me that he's, begging to come to Columbus or anything like that. The childhood dream school doesn't seem to quite have the same grab here as maybe it does with some other guys. But, can Ohio State land Dante?
I think they're running behind. I think everybody's running behind Notre Dame right now. The one encouraging thing to me would be that I don't think Michigan or Michigan State has all that much traction with him either. And he's, state of the Michigan kid. So once you rule out the hometown schools, the home state schools, it's wide open. Do I think Notre Dame is ahead of Ohio State today? Yeah, I do. But I don't think Dante's ready to decide anytime soon. You have to get him on campus. Anybody that's watched these podcasts before, they know that broken record from me. They've heard it enough. They've read it enough. They have to get him back on campus again. Ohio State does those unofficial visits as well as anyone in America, yes, including Alabama. So it just seems that once they get those guys, and especially like in an unofficial visit, I don't mean like that 2-hour stop and drop. I'm talking about a full, stay overnight, spend 2 full days and stay overnight at Ohio State. And the hit record for those is unbelievable. And so that's the next step for me with Dante Moore, is getting him to spend an extensive amount of time on campus where he can get the full real life Wednesday thing. He can get 6 hours in Ryan Day's office. He can spend time with Corey Dennis. be around Heartline, be around the guys. And if that visit happens, he would go way up in my eyes in terms of Ohio State landing him. But right now, I think Notre Dame is the leader, and I think a lot of schools are fighting for that number 2 spot.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good assessment of where things are at. I definitely think if he had to sign somewhere tomorrow, it'd be Notre Dame. They did get him briefly on campus in the last couple of weeks, but it was one of those big kind of recruiting days. Yeah, I'm with you. I'd like to see the overnight. If he can see where they are this fall, we all think C.J. Stroud has a chance to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. We all think C.J. Stroud has a chance to win a Heisman this year. If that offense continues to hum, and, the Notre Dame offense, I think they've got some quarterback stuff they're trying to work through right now. Obviously, I think Michigan's probably in a better situation than Notre Dame in terms of their quarterback pipeline, but just kind of seeing what those schools look like versus what CJ Stroud does this year. And then knowing that, CJ Stroud is going to move on and, there is going to be an open quarterback competition next spring. I think those are some things that could help Ohio State in addition to continuing to get them down to campus more often and be around those other receivers they're recruiting and just around their offensive staff. So it's an uphill battle right now against Notre Dame, but, we'll see what happens. Some other guys there, unfortunately, CJ Carr didn't make it at 2024 out of Michigan. That would have been interesting. I think he's Lloyd Carr's grandson. So we were kind of joking about how that was CJ Carr's opportunity to throw in front of Ryan Day without making Grandpa mad. So that didn't happen. One thing I think we all noticed was the strength of the 2025 class. However, and these are rising sophomores. We'll start with Ryan Montgomery. Bill, the Montgomery family well. You've seen Ryan before. What did you see out of Ryan? And this may have been the first time you saw Ryan in quite a bit. So any differences in Ryan from the last time you saw him?
Well, the one big difference is that he's added about 25 pounds, and he looks a lot better. That was noticeable to me. The second thing that was noticeable to me is when I talked to him. The last time I'd spoken to him, oh my gosh, it was back last summer. And at the time, he favored basketball over football. And he flat out told me that basketball was his sport and football was second. Well, I couldn't wait to ask him now that he's gotten all these offers, has anything changed there? And he said, yeah, absolutely. Football's number 1. He said, basketball's just for fun now. Football's my future. And that was good to see. And then the fact that, he was a string bean last year, but he was headed into his freshman season as well. So he's continuing to grow. Total different kid than his brother in terms of body shape, but I was glad to see the added weight Ryan put on. He's accurate in his throws. The ball's coming out a little quicker than it did last year. And again, he's headed into his sophomore year of high school. He's still a baby in terms of this stuff. So for me, everything is A-okay with Ryan Montgomery that I've seen so far in his development.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Ryan has been his physical development, not so much mechanics or anything like that. I think he's always been pretty sound with his mechanics. But for me, this is the second time I've seen him in the last few weeks. He's much bigger. He's much more physically imposing. He was really skinny going into his freshman year, and he's added quite a bit of bulk. I think he's up 15 or 20 pounds. And he's really zipping it around. Good spin on the ball on Saturday, accurate. I thought he was one of the top guys there as well. I thought Dante Moore probably carried the day as far as having the best day, but I thought Ryan, did everything I would have expected from him. I think, as I kind of keep saying, he's where he should be right now. When I see him, going back 6 months, and then I see him 6 months later, the progression is there. He's continuing to improve. He's not maxed out. He's not, stagnant in terms of his development. I thought he was really sharp. I think the one thing I thought was maybe the biggest takeaway for me on him was I thought he was better as the day went along. I thought he continued to get better. The drills actually got more difficult. You go from kind of just a pure drop back against air to now they're chasing you around, you're resetting everything else. So the drills got harder, but I thought Ryan got better as the drills got more challenging. And I thought that was good. Now he was not the only 2025 quarterback there that was impressive. Colin Hurley out of Jacksonville Trinity Christian, obviously a very familiar school for Ohio State. He actually visited Ohio State on Friday, and that's why he was at the Ohio Elite 11 Regional. He was able to kind of kill two birds with one stone there, I guess. I was really impressed with Colin. Bill, what did you think of the young guy from Jacksonville?
Yeah, very impressive. I mean, a big, thick-bodied kid. He could really spin it. I mean, he's got a howitzer for an arm. Really didn't know much about him heading into this thing, but you come away, I mean, very impressed. I mean, and he's, and playing in that program, he's going to get great coaching. He's going to play against great competition. So the odds of him developing into something pretty special are really good. So there was nothing not to like about Colin Hurley. I mean, and the most impressive thing to me was the bigger, thicker body, not a fat guy at all, just a solid guy. But then, boy, could he spin that football. And he was very accurate, too. So I thought he was another one whose development was probably further along than it should be for someone so young. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on. And again, Ryan Day being there, Ryan Day had to have been impressed with what he saw out of Colin Hurley.
Yeah, and Colin's got some big offers. Georgia, Florida State. There's a bunch of schools after him already. Ohio State didn't offer on the visit. I think what's going to happen right now is I think they want him to come back in June for camp. Colin told me he's going to certainly try and do that. Throughout the dreaded dream school with Ohio State. So we'll see how that goes, obviously. And then, of course, he's in the same class as Ryan Montgomery. So those two aren't going to both end up at Ohio State. So we'll see how all that plays out. But I agree. He's not really tall. He's 6'1". He's not 6'4" like Ryan Montgomery, but he's a little more broad. Can really spin it. Good athlete. Good feet. So I was super impressed. I thought he probably had the best day of the underclassmen, to be honest. And now I thought Ryan was really good as well, but they were both kind of as advertised. I just thought Colin was kind of in a zone there for a while, almost like Dante Moore was with the reset drills and everything else, just delivering it so accurately with so much spin. Really impressed with him. That was my first time really watching him. I got to see him a little bit last spring at Trinity Christian for spring ball, but was kind of focused on Trayon Webb that day. But he was definitely as advertised. Okay, so what does Ohio State do right now with quarterback recruiting? You've got this situation in 2024 right now with Dylan Raiola and Jaden Davis, and you're trying to weigh that, but you also need a quarterback in 2023. I guess we'll start there. We just talked about Dante Moore. Looks like they're trailing there. They need some time there to play catch up on that. But Chris Vizina's committing here on Tuesday. I don't think it's going to be Ohio State. It looks like it's going to be Clemson. I've never kind of felt great about Ohio State there. I know they kind of got in the game a little bit later there. Bill, are you hearing anything different? And what are you expecting from Vizina on Tuesday?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Ohio State. I think you're right on the money there. I think it's going to be Clemson. I did think that Ohio State got in there a little late, but I thought they did a good job with him, and I thought they really impressed that kid. But, I think it's going to be Clemson on Tuesday. And then when you continue on with 2023, I think they're in a trail position for Dante Moore. The Iamaleva kid out of Florida is now locked into Tennessee, and I think with the financial NIL deal he got there, I don't think that's going to change. So I don't know. You keep looking, the Ohio State depth chart is not really favorable. When kids look at that, they know Kyle McCord can play. And Devin Brown, I'm as impressed with Devin Brown as a newbie on campus as I was when they landed CJ Stroud. I mean, I think Devin Brown's cut from that cloth. And I don't know if Devin Brown would scare off a 2023, but he'd scare me a little bit, So depth chart's not exactly perfect there. And I'm sure Notre Dame is telling Dante Moore that he's going to play as a freshman. And Ohio State can't tell him that. So I don't know. I don't know where they go from here. I know it's one of the top quarterback developing places in America. So they're going to get somebody really good. I have no doubt about that. But, right now, I don't know that I could tell you who that's going to be.
Yeah, and I actually had asked this on the board a few weeks ago. I thought it was an interesting question. They asked me, who would be the 2023 quarterback, and they kind of gave me some options, and then they said, or will it be someone we're not talking about right now? And I said, I think it's going to be someone we're not talking about right now. I kind of gave him an outside shot with Vizina, but I don't think that's going to happen at this point. So I'm still there. I'm still it's going to be someone we're not really linking right now to Ohio State. And you and I had this, I just got some deja vu like feeling. We were having this exact same conversation, at some point last cycle. And that's kind of what happened. Devin Brown popped up, maybe a month or two after we talked about it on a podcast episode. And that's what ended up happening. It was, we kept talking about, is it going to be this guy? And like, no, it's probably going to be someone we're not talking about. So I think that's going to be the case. Here's another problem Ohio State has, not that guys should really be looking behind them. I think that's a bad mentality to have. I mean, if you're nervous about who's coming in behind you, that's probably a little bit of a red flag for me, but it is there. And it is something that's probably going to be talked about is what if Ohio State lands, whether it's Dylan Raiola or Jaden Davis? I mean, it seems to me right now actually could be Raiola instead of Davis, but what happens if they land one of those two guys before they land a 23 guy? So now you've got your 24 guy locked in. And if it's either of those two guys, it's a 5-star top 10 player in the country type of talent. Then you've got McCord and Devin Brown already on campus. I mean, how much more difficult can this get for Ohio State to convince a real dude in 23 to join the class? I mean, I kind of view that as another negative. If Dylan Raiola or Jaden Davis would jump in 24, before 23, I think that makes things harder.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm not going to be surprised if one of those 2024s doesn't make a commitment in the next month. And I'm going to leave it at that because I was kind of told something not to spill a name or when, but I think one of Jaden Davis or the Raiola kid is going to be committed here fairly soon. So that could, throw everything out of whack. But like you said before, I don't think the 2023s look back at 2024. I just don't think kids look backwards. I've never seen that. I've never come across it, and nothing comes across my mind right now. So I don't think that's the problem, but I think it's more like what you talked about with Devin Brown. Devin Brown, we weren't talking about Devin Brown this time last year. And I don't know, when did CJ Stroud hit Ohio State's radar? I think that was late in the process as well. So I do think Ohio State's going to get a good one in 2023. And I don't think you or I can say who that is right now. And then, who knows where they go with Dante Moore? I mean, everybody thinks it's Notre Dame. And so we'll see. It's early right now. And from what I was told, I don't think Dante Moore is all that much in a hurry to decide right now. So you fight that one out. I just think the history of Ryan Day shows that he's going to get a good one in this cycle. And it could be like Stroud or Devin Brown, guys that popped up late. And, look what Stroud has turned out to be. And all the rave reviews on Devin Brown that we've gotten so far, I mean, are amazing. So I think it's one of those things that you just don't worry about it. And you just trust that Ryan Day and Corey Dennis, they know what they're doing. They do it every year. It's almost, I look at quarterback recruiting the same way I look at Hartline's wide receiver recruiting. He's going to do it every year because he does it every year. So those two spots are two of the least spots I ever worry about in terms of recruiting.
I'm going to throw out kind of an interesting hypothetical. I want to preface this that I don't think it's very realistic, but I would try it if I was Ryan Day and Corey Dennis. If you could get Raiola to commit, wouldn't your first call be to Jaden Davis and be like, hey, Jaden, why don't you try – I know we told you recently that you should probably just finish high school and not worry about reclassifying, but, we got Dylan here. We still love you. You were initially a 23. You reclassify, or you got held back at some point, I believe. Why don't you reclassify and be our 23 quarterback? Am I crazy for that? And I doubt Jaden would even go for that, but that would be my first chess move if Dylan Raiola committed.
I would try to get them both. Any way I could get them both. I mean, if Dylan Raiola committed to Ohio State in 10 minutes, let's say, then I would not give up and walk away from Jaden Davis by any means. I would still tell Jaden Davis, we want you here. We love you. You want to reclassify to 23? We'll take you right now. You want to stay in 24? We'll take you right now, along with Dylan. We'll take both of you. We'd love to have both of you. So whatever you want to do, young man, we're with you at 1,000%. So, yeah, I would take them both. I would, maybe I'm old school. I don't know. I just think if you want to build a roster that competes with Alabama, competes with Georgia, and, I know everybody says, oh, we're just as good. No, you're not. You're not just as good as them, okay? The proof was last year. You played Michigan, and you got smoked badly. And a couple weeks later, Michigan goes and plays Georgia, and they got annihilated. So there's a gap. And the only way you fill that gap is you have every guy, every assistant coach, you introduce him to Brian Hartline, and you tell him, do what he's doing. I would bring in as many 5-star studs as I'm not worried about who leaves in the portal. You want to leave in the portal? Fine. We're going to go get another one. You think Brian Hartline shed a tear when Mookie Cooper walked out the door? I guarantee he didn't. And that's the way I would try to approach it. O-line, D-line, linebacker, DB, tight end. I want 5-star studs. I want guys, top of the board guys, as many as I can get at every position. I would do it like Hartline's doing it. And that's how you close that gap that's there right now between Georgia and Alabama. And then you drop back a little bit to Ohio State. That's the way I would approach it. So I'm taking Jaden Davis and Dylan Raiola in any way I could make that work. I'd let Jaden Davis go back to 2025 if he wants to. Whatever he wants to do. Whatever those guys want to do. However we can make it work, I want both of them.
Yeah, I would. I'm not sure that's how this is going to play out, and I'm not sure that's even what Ohio State's going to even try and do. But, it's easy for me to sit here. I'm sitting at the poker table with their chips, but
right.
That's something I would very much look into. All right. So we do have a little bit of stuff to talk about. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, Bill had a great write-up on the message board, kind of going down the South Florida Express guys. Let's not, we won't give away all of that, but just, your thoughts as we sit here today on that group. Again, it's Brandon Inniss, Carnell Tate, Marc Fletcher, who's going to decide tomorrow, Cormani McClain. There's a bunch of them. Is Ohio State, we hate the package deal talk.
Oh yeah, I do.
But is that but is there something to that here where it's helping them? They're building momentum with the whole group collectively. And we talk about, the dangers of the early Florida commit. Could this help keep things, if they can get a couple of these guys early, does it help keep things together that they're all kind of seemingly moving in the one direction there a little bit, north toward Columbus?
Yeah, the thing with package deals, I don't believe in them. And I've been doing this for over 20 years. I don't think you believe in them. And I don't necessarily think that's what's happening here. I think what Ohio State has done with these guys is they are recruiting them outside in. Okay? Or I don't know how to explain it, but they've individually connected with each kid so that each kid really has Ohio State at the top of the list. So it's, it wasn't designed that we're going to take all 80 of you guys, all 70 of you guys, all 60 of you guys. It wasn't designed that way. They individually were high on each kid's list, probably at the top of all these kids' list, I would say. And then, as you bring them all in together, it's almost like the kids organically figure out like, well, this would be kind of cool being here. But, there's no way that, Marc Fletcher is sitting there thinking, I don't like the offense. I don't like Coach Alford. Not real fond of Brian Day. I don't like the weather up there, but you know what? All my buddies are going there, so I'll sacrifice my career to have fun with my buddies. It does not work that way. You have to individually sell this kid that this is the spot for you. And I think they've done that with Marc Fletcher. Marc Fletcher, I believe, is going to commit to Ohio State. And I believe also just as strongly that Marc Fletcher has no guarantee that Carnell Tate and Brandon Innes and Fagan and all his buddies are coming too. I think he thinks there's probably a pretty good chance, but I don't think there's any guarantee on Marc Fletcher's end that all his boys are coming with him. So you have to individually recruit that kid first. And that has to be there. I'm a comfort and relationship guy. The comfort and relationship has to be there. And then the fact that his buddies are coming are just as good. I think if Marc Fletcher commits to Ohio State like I think he's going to, and then Tate, Innes, and the rest of those guys go elsewhere, I still think Ohio State will get Marc Fletcher. So I think it's an extra little bonus that maybe his buddies are coming with him. But the work was done by Tony Alford here individually with Marc Fletcher, not, hey, be part of this big group that might happen. So I don't think package deals work that way. You have to have that solid basis with that kid and then tell him, hey, it could be pretty cool if all your buddies come too.
On the eve of Marc Fletcher's announcement, do we have a final call? It sounds like you've made it for Ohio State. I also believe Marc Fletcher is going to pick Ohio State on Tuesday at this point. And we may have something more on that at a later time.